right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. It's really fun to see some familiar faces. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alex Radford, owner of the Edge Agency. We're a branding and marketing agency in Gwinnett. And then we have a guest with us today, Andrew Firking, who is a financial advisor with Thrivent. And a lot of you are here in large part today because of him. He was a sponsor of this event. So we are so thankful to have you, Andrew. So today we're going to learn a lot about branding, what a brand really is, how to bring it to life. A lot of people talk about building a brand and working on their brand and all of this. So today we're going to talk about what it really, really means and how to do it right. We work with a lot of companies across about 40 or 50 industries, and our client base stems from people that are solopreneurs. They might even be pre-venture all the way up to enterprise level companies. And companies of all sizes are really getting the branding part wrong in many, many, many cases. So in a perfect world, we'd say start with a brand first and then build your business from there. But no matter what stage of business you're in, a lot of these tips are going to just give you a really good, clear perspective of where you're at, what you may have skipped over, what you may have missed, and what you need to go back and relook at. So before we hear from our sponsor, I just wanted to go over a couple of housekeeping items with you all. If you have questions along the way, put them in the Q&A bubble. Do not put them in the chat. Put them in the Q&A bubble. So as we go, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in. And then at the end, we will go over those questions. And then at the very end, we're also going to do a little giveaway for those of you who are here so that y'all can walk away with something of value from this. So for now, I am going to turn it over to our sponsor, Andrew Firking, to introduce himself and share just a little bit about what he does and how he is a huge benefit to entrepreneurs and business leaders.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Alex. So first, I'm always glad to support Alex and Edge. Been a great partner and friend of theirs for a while, and I'll plug them. They've done a tremendous job helping me and my team think through our branding and value add and just how to tell our story as we interact with clients and even people that are future clients, hopefully. So glad to sponsor this. Along those lines, just everything that we do with our team in the financial advice space is really looking to disrupt the way people think about the traditional form of financial advice. So I have a firm belief that a lot in our industry has become a similar stale experience, and talking to a lot of people about their financial plans, it is often an experience whereas a series of products and purchases and solutions here and there without a coordinated plan of how it all fits together and works. And most in our industry view the value provided in the asset management or in the products purchased. And we just have a fundamental different approach that our value stems from the strategies and ideas that we proactively present to clients, many of whom are business owners or self-employed individuals, and the problems that we help them solve. And we just believe that is a higher level of value, and to help people solve problems when maybe there isn't even a specific asset management or product need. So we lead with the planning. We try to own every decision that's made with a dollar, from investing and saving, protecting, charitable giving, helping with tax strategies and partnering with tax advisors, all geared to help our clients, keep more of what they make, be wise stewards with it, and get to a point of financial freedom as quickly as possible so that you are doing what you want, where you want, when you want, but not necessarily having to work in order to do it, but you're finding joy in your work, because you want to keep doing stuff in your business and to help people and provide for your families. So that's kind of the top level approach of what we do. And also I'll just say this because this is a common question I get: to engage with us and our team, it is not a prerequisite to A, have money that we manage, or B, to buy anything from us. That's why we do a ton with business owners. And I'm free to say, hey, investing in your business and your brand is maybe the single best decision that you can make from an ROI perspective. And then also, as we look at investing, people that love investing in real estate, in businesses, in franchises, private equity. There's so many things that a lot of advisors miss, and we are free to share those ideas and strategies in a way that most aren't. So just creating that different experience overall is really what we're after, and a story that's cool to share. So I'll turn it back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Andrew. Love that approach that you can, they're just a really great place to go to call when those questions come up, even if they're not managing all of your money, to be able to say, hey, I've got this issue. What would you do? That's like a huge benefit. A lot of financial advisors don't offer that. So, anyways, thanks, Andrew. And I'll kick us off with the branding. So, your brand is not what you say it is, it's what they say it is. So, generally, whenever I ask people, like, what does branding mean to you? Like, what do you think of when you hear people talk about branding? The answers I typically get, people will say like logo or Mercedes or McDonald's. They'll actually say a name of a brand. Um, but more than just that visual identity, it's really how you're positioned in the marketplace and how people are perceiving you. So you may think, oh, our brand is, really clean and simple and classy and excellent customer service. And you may have, if you ask an actual client or customer what they think of you, many times those answers are actually different. So it's really all about your client, all about your target audience and the need that they have that you are gifted to fill. So a lot of clients focus a little too much on themselves and their business and what they do and how they help, and that's definitely an element of it. But just as important is who you're serving and really having a really clear understanding of who that person is and what it is that they need that you're able to serve them. So it's how you're perceived. We're going to go over a couple of statistics. The numbers don't lie. 95% of buying decisions are emotional. So, most of the time, when people actually make a buying decision, there's an emotion, there's a motivation as well that's really causing them to make that actual buying decision. It's a couple levels deeper than just, oh, um, I need marketing services to save me time. There's usually a more emotional reason underneath of why they might need that service. It's going to free them up so that they can scale and have that financial freedom, or it's going to allow them just the time freedom to be with their families. There's usually a deep value that people aren't really talking about as much. 77% of consumers buy from businesses who they have shared values with. So this is so important. And the way to know what your target audience values is to really understand your ideal target audience and to really know who you are as a business owner and what your values are. If we don't have these very clearly laid out, it's going to be really hard to know how to qualify someone as a good client for you or not, because not every client is one that we want to take. Not every lead is one that we want to take. We want to take the clients that we're really going to be able to serve in the best possible way. And so a lot of that does come down to what are their values. 46% of consumers will pay more for a brand they trust. So we'll talk a little bit about how we build that trust over time. It's through consistency. And there is a layer of like the visual identity that's important with that, but it's also what happens offline that builds trust. And then 82% of consumers feel more confident about a brand after reading customized content. So the key word there is customized, tailored. Whenever we talk about our target audience and our brand and who we're trying to reach, it's not anyone and everyone. We want to get as narrow as possible so that we can really speak to a specific customer about their specific needs. It takes less than 1 second for people to form an opinion about your website. This statistic is so wild to me because our attention spans have just like diminished over time. Less than 1 second, and people have already formed an opinion about you, your business, your site, if they want to work with you in such a short amount of time. So we have clients that come to us and they want to do these ad campaigns and, they want to grow as fast as possible. But when we slow down, take a look back, do they even have a website? And if they do, is it aesthetically pleasing? Is it easy to navigate? Because we don't want to spend too much time marketing something that when they do land on your website or on your social page, it's not going to convert them because there's no clarity, there's no clear message, things are confusing, nothing looks the same, and they can't really tell what you do and how it benefits them. So that 1 second is all that we get. So it's really important that each interaction we have with that prospect is building consistency along the way each and every time. Consistent presentation of a brand is shown to increase revenues by 33%. So that's a pretty staggering number. A lot of people wonder, like, what is the ROI on branding? It's hard to say because you can't really put an ROI on a logo design or web design, some of these foundational visual identity elements. But your brand is really and truly so much more than that. Those are just the visual elements that are giving people a hint into who you are and how you're going to serve them. So we really want that to be consistent and used properly over time. And we're going to break down exactly how to do that. But for those companies who maybe they don't have a brand foundation yet, they just started their business, and the first thing they want to do is jump on social media and tell the world they've started this business, but they may not have any clue what makes them unique from their competitors. They may not know who is their truly narrow ideal target audience yet. And so we really want to craft that message so that when people are seeing this information in email campaigns and social media, you're just constantly giving people that consistency that they need and the evidence that they need to support just the credibility and legitimacy. So it's a long game. Branding is a long game. And companies that are winging it are leaving 33% of their revenue on the table by not simply slowing down and making sure that they're really doing it the right way. Using a signature color increases brand recognition by 80%. So we'll talk a little bit about color theory and the psychology of color. And we give the example lots of times of the McDonald's arches are yellow, it's happy, it's sunshine, it's friendly. That is what they are trying to, that's how they are perceived, and that's how they want to be perceived. So there's alignment there. Another example I like to give is Keller Williams. Some of you guys are in real estate, some of you are not, but whether you're in real estate or not, Keller Williams is one of the most recognizable brands on the planet. And by seeing that red and black, oh, that's KW. And red is a bold color. They have a bold program. They're all about sales and I don't like to use the word aggression, I guess, but they're kind of aggressive. So that's their color. That's who they are. That's how they're perceived. And so all that is an example to show that when we see color and color palettes put together, when we're designing a brand from the ground up, there really is like psychology and strategy behind it. We don't just throw a logo together and turn it purple because that's somebody's favorite color. We want to look into what are your values, what are your clients' values, and what color, through the psychology of color, is that pulling. And that's how we start building out colors and fonts and things like that. It can take 5 to 7 impressions to build brand recognition. Ever since COVID, that number has probably tripled in some recent education that we've gotten. So that just means it takes a prospect 5 or 7 impressions before they start recognizing your brand. So that impression might be 5 to 7 times of them seeing you on social media. It could be one touch is an email, one touch is a social post, one is they bump into you at an event. The point is, it takes people a lot of touches before they're ready to make a buying decision. So each touch along the way is either building your credibility, building that brand consistency and trust to ultimately make a sale, or it's going to be inconsistent and slowly like breaking down people's trust and wanting to move forward. So that consistency is a big piece of the visual identity that we love to see. So, first things first, a strong brand foundation is essential for effective marketing. So, like I said, before we jump into social media and email campaigns, and we're just really trying to sell our service or product, let's make sure that we do have a strong brand foundation. We know who we are and who we're selling to. A powerful brand differentiates. So we're not, when we brand a client or we walk them through branding exercises, it's not necessarily about being better than the competition. It's more so what makes you unique, what differentiates you, what's your superpower. And if someone over here is selling because their product is cheaper and it's faster, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're selling, it's a little bit, takes a little bit longer, but the quality is there. Great. There's no right or wrong. It's just important to know what your differentiator is, if that makes sense. And I'll use another like real estate example. So we have some realtors and they'll get licensed and they say their target audience is anyone who wants to buy or sell a house. And we really want to push back on them and help them see that their target audience is so much more narrow than just anyone and everyone. They can have so many different needs, and you may not be an expert at serving all of them with all of their different needs. So we want to get really narrow into and be able to say, like, I serve first time home buyers with small children in the local Beaufort City School District. Like that is starting to get a little bit more narrow. And then when you are sending that message out through your social media and through your emails and all of that, we want to speak to that person, that client, that ideal persona. We don't have to be everything to everyone in this case. And of course, you'll take business. I'm sure if we all get opportunities outside of that, you might take it. Doesn't mean you're going to turn it down. But if we're trying to grow a really ideal client base, we want to speak specifically into that. So a lot of that comes out in our messaging and the actual content that people are reading and hearing on social, emails, website, all that good stuff. A powerful brand builds trust, confidence, and client loyalty. This is one of my favorite parts, or one of my favorite things, is client loyalty. And I like to give the example of Chick-fil-A because when you go to Chick-fil-A, you know exactly what you're going to get because it's the same experience at each location. They're going to say, you know, my pleasure. They're going to be there standing outside taking your order. You just know what you're going to get. So that builds that trust and confidence in them. And this client loyalty piece comes into play if Chick-fil-A did make a mistake and let's say you got the wrong order, you're going to know like that's very out of character. They've deposited so much into this relationship that's been positive. So the client loyalty is still there. So branding is a lot more about relationships with other people than just pushing a message out that's one sided, if that makes sense. So we want to build that trust, build that confidence, and create that client loyalty. So this is a really good example of what branding is and how it's different from certain marketing tactics and how it's different from graphic design, video, and all this. So we give the example of a car. So let's say you have an engine inside of the car. That would be your brand. That is the heart of the car. That's what makes the car go. No matter how beautiful the car is on the outside, if there's not an engine inside, it's not going anywhere. So we really want to make sure that that brand, that engine inside is what makes it go. That's the who am I as a business leader? Who is my ideal client? What is their pain point? Like what is their biggest struggle and their biggest challenge? And how am I going to help them overcome this challenge? So we give this example. There's something called the story brand method. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of it, but it basically is this method of branding that your client is the hero, you are the guide, and there's always a challenge to overcome. So when we're communicating with our clients, we really want to identify that challenge and guide them how to overcome that challenge. That is your job. And whatever you're selling, it could even be your kids. If you're trying to get them to eat their vegetables, there's a challenge and you're trying to help them overcome this challenge and explain the benefits and how this is going to be good for them. So that's the engine is the brand. And then the design would be the outside of the car. So that's what we see. So in branding, this might be your logo, a website, a flyer. It could be, you're hosting an event and it's this beautiful presentation. So the design gives us an idea of what the experience is going to be like inside the car. So if we're looking at the outside of a car and it's a brand new Lamborghini, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, look at that car. I bet on the inside it's going to go really fast. It's really high powered. It's really luxury. It's really unique. Just looking at the outside gives us a hint of what to expect when we actually get on the phone with someone or we actually are driving the car. So then that brings us into tactics. So marketing tactics would be the road that the car is driving on. So once we have an engine in the car and we have an image and we have a solid visual identity, then it's time to take the car on the road. This is actual promotion. This is email campaigns, social posting. It could be attending an event. It could be mailers. It could be picking up the phone and cold calling, like whatever that looks like, it's actually getting in front of your target audience. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. The difference between what the brand is, the visual elements, and then the promotion. So we'll go over a couple of do's and don'ts of branding. This is one of our clients' brand boards. So this gives 5 colors and 3 fonts and then textures. So when you start a business, you're a new entrepreneur, or say you've been in business a while. We work with several clients, so they've been in business for 10 years. They don't have this. So this is just a foundational piece that is going to help you be consistent in your future marketing. So we've got a header, a subheader, and this body of text. We want 3 different fonts for 3 different purposes. And then no matter who is touching your marketing, if you're working with an agency, you're doing it yourself, you have an assistant, whatever they're designing for you in Canva, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs do themselves, you want to have all of this ready to go so that whatever gets created is going to have a similar look and feel. Because remember, it takes 5 to 7 times for someone to see your brand and actually start recognizing, oh, that's so and so, and they have this business. We want to make it as easy for people as possible. So do consider colors. We'll talk about the psychology of color here in just a minute, but this piece is really important. We had a client a while back. She started a business in the fitness industry, and she had a very expensive and researched program that she created. She had multiple degrees, a master's degree, and she wasn't closing any business. And then we went and took a look at what she was working with to reach her audience, and it was very out of alignment with her target audience. She really needed to be marketing to males that were a little bit older, specifically doctors. And so we gave her some guidance in, hey, this pink on your website is not speaking to the evidence and the thoroughness of everything that you offer. You're sending 2 different messages. So if you're trying to market yourself and you're not getting anywhere, there's a great chance that something is out of alignment somewhere and you just need to, fine tune that. So do create a sensible logo. We say sensible because it's not so much about being fancy or super intricate with the design. It really just needs to make sense. We want it to be unique. We want it to stand out. We want it to give people a clue of what you do. And we don't want it to be something that's so distracting or actually just confuses people. Confused buyers don't buy. We don't like busyness and stuff like that. It just slows down everybody's ability to comprehend what you do. Do have an impactful mission statement. This is important. It's not that you're going to be reciting your mission statement all the time with clients. It may be on your website, but when you can clearly articulate what your mission is and what your vision as a business leader is, it's going to create more buy in, and it's going to make you laser focused on, I want to, serve this type of person in this type of way. And here's the purpose it serves. So knowing your audience is key for that. Another important element, do know your competition. It's really important to know what your competitors are doing for a few reasons. One of them is really looking at common denominators. So if you own a fitness company, let's just say, research some competitors that are in a similar industry, similar size. It could even be people that inspire you. Maybe they're a lot bigger, they've been doing it longer. It's more of an inspiration. Either way, that's fine. But when you look at your competition, you'll probably notice, wow, there's a lot of bright colors in all of these websites, or most of them are on social, they're showing before and afters, or most of them are doing video and reels. Whatever that common denominator is for your industry, pay attention to it, because that just tells you, hey, to be competitive, I have to at least be doing this. Like, this is the minimum. And then we want to take it a step further to differentiate you even more. It also allows you to sell against the competition. So let's say, you know that one of your competitors is, everyone loves working with them because um, of a very specific reason, and you may not offer that. You do it a little bit differently. That's okay. Know what they're doing so that you can sell against it. We do want to have coherence across the brand online and offline. So this comes down to just authenticity. We don't want to create a beautiful brand and say all these great things about us and how we serve, and then a client calls or customer calls and picks up the phone and they get a totally different experience. We want to portray on the outside what's really happening on the inside, if that makes sense, with your team, how you serve people on the phone, how you show up, how's your follow through. Those things need to be consistent. If they're not, there's no amount of branding on the outside is going to help that. So don't forget to engage your audience and take up the humanization side of social media. We're all on social media all the time. So much of the world is digital these days. It's kind of taken that humanization out. However, we're all human and we're made for, like, we all want to have relationship and community. We want to be heard and understood and seen and appreciated and all of these things. So just because our world is operating online so a lot more doesn't mean that humanization piece isn't more important than ever. So people don't relate to pain, or I'm sorry, people don't relate to perfection, they relate to pain. So it's okay to show, like, man, I'm having a really hard day in my business, or man, look at all these orders. I don't even know how I'm going to fulfill them all. Like, anyone who's an entrepreneur knows it's anything but glamorous. So it's okay to show that human side of what you're doing and the emotional side of why you're doing it. Everything doesn't have to be prim and proper and perfect. And the trends on social media nowadays, a lot of it, you don't even really need videographers all the time anymore to capture video. It's like, use your iPhone, use an Olight, or do it when you're on the go. It's raw, it's authentic, it's real. And that's okay. That's what's trending. People like to see the humanized side. They want to see the real side. And I get questions from time to time from people who say, should I have a personal Facebook page or a business Facebook page? And there's a time and a place for both. But if you're on Instagram or something like that, like, just have one profile. Like, people can tell when you have your business page and then your personal page. So people want to see the raw, they want to see the real, and it's okay to let them see that. Don't tie your brand to pricing, tie it to value. This is a big one. We face it tons of entrepreneurs out there have people who, the price may be too high, or, they're asking for a discount or what have you. So you just really want to tie your price to value. So if someone is saying, oh, that's too expensive, that's okay. Either they're not your target audience, or if we need to bring the price down, we don't just discount the price. We can say, hey, maybe this other package, the starter package, would be better for you and fit your budget. And it may offer a few less things. It's still a great place to start. And then you can gradually tier up and add more down the road as needed. So just remember that when that question comes up from your clients, tie it to value. Can't change the price, but I can change the value that you're getting. Don't skip building the brand foundation, and don't delay rebranding. So many times, if we've had a couple clients, their branding maybe needed a revamp. And they're like, well, my logo's already printed on the wall and on my car wrap and all of these things. And if there's a true misalignment that really requires rebranding because the audience has changed, the business has changed in some way, don't delay. The sooner we can get that brand messaging accurate, the better, and the faster you'll start to see the growth. So if you find yourself in a position and you're like, I need to make some changes, and it's honestly very normal for those of you who have been in business for several years. Every few years, your business is evolving, you are evolving, your team is evolving, your services are just getting better and better and better. So it does make sense that over time, it is expected that there may be some updates to your branding over time. So brand consistency builds trust. Rome wasn't built in a day. Remember, this is the long game. Okay, this is a marketing ladder. Really good example here to share. So at the bottom of this ladder is your brand. This bottom is the foundation. So branding, mission statement, vision statement, values, positioning, making sure you are positioning yourself in the right places. If you want to work with, a luxury audience, are you a part of a social club? Are you farming the right neighborhoods? Like, are you positioning yourself appropriately? And then these are those one-time visual identity elements. Then we move into the second tier of the marketing ladder. This is more so what I like to call your sphere of influence, low hanging fruit. This is your ability to reach people that you know, or friends of friends, referral partners, connections, attending an event and collecting new contacts, that kind of thing. We can reach these people through email campaigns, people that are in our database already. We can reach people through social media that we're already currently connected to. And then this third tier is reaching mass audiences, and it's reaching people that you do not know. So we don't want to jump to tier 3 if we haven't done tier 2. We don't want to jump to 2 if we haven't done 1. If this piece is missed, this brand foundation, it's going to make a lot of what we're doing up here less effective. We're wasting money. It's taking longer. Super frustrating. So we don't want anyone to be in that position. So it's okay to, crawl before you run. So, fine tuning your brand foundation. Here's a few questions for you guys to ask yourselves so that you can make sure you do have a narrow target audience. So, look at what you do, the service or good that you sell, and get really specific with what exactly it is that your service offering is, as narrow as you possibly can. Think of your favorite client, your best client, favorite path client that you just loved working with. You'd work with 10 more just like them if you could. What was it that you did for that person that made it such a good partnership? What was their pain point that you were able to fill so well? Then we want to have a clear message and articulate the benefits for the end user. So we don't, again, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's not so much about saying, I offer this service and this service. We want to say, this service brings this value. The value is peace of mind. The value is more time with your family. The value is Status, the value is I'm really proud of this. Whatever the value is for what you offer for that particular client, that's the type of language we want to be using in the marketing is those value words. Sorry, I got to keep moving my screen, moving this over so y'all can see. Competitive analysis, we talked about this a little bit. Look at their messaging. Is it clear? Is it confusing? Where are they strong? Where are they weak? Are they on social? Do they have a lot of followers? Are they consistent? What is making your competitor so successful? Let's take a look at that. What's their unique value? What feeling do you get when you look at their visual identity? So we just saw that people have 1 second to make an impression. So when you look at your competitors, you can pick up on, oh, okay, my first impression was this looks really good, or wait, I'm confused. So take a look at that. And when you're building out your own, that's how people are perceiving you as well. They're thinking, how, like, we want to pay attention to how it makes them feel when they see it. The marketing funnel. I love this diagram. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with a marketing funnel. Some people call it a sales funnel, but essentially, this is where the customer journey that your client goes through before they make a purchase. Everybody goes in at the top of awareness. They need to meet you, they need to know that you exist first. And then through those multiple touches and 5 to 7 impressions they have to make, we're pushing them through this funnel, and we're giving them evidence of success. We're sharing testimonials. We want to grab their attention fast to gain interest. And then as it goes down, we start really asking them what are their issues, what are their pain points, so that we can get really detailed on exactly how you can serve that specific person. And then we move it all the way down to purchase, where they become a client. So it's just important to know that when you're posting on social media, be aware of what level your audience is. If you started a business yesterday and no one knows it exists, everybody's up here at the top. So it's going to take a little bit of time to like build credibility, just constantly be reminding them how you serve people. If you've been in business for a long time and you know that most people know what you do, your audience may be somewhere down here. And so there's different types of information that we can give people that correlate with where they're at in the customer journey. So this is really good to keep in mind when you're selling or trying to grow your business through social media. We also want to have a sales process. So depending how big your business is, you don't want to push someone through to get their attention, gain all this awareness, and then no one's around to close the deal. No one's around to have a meeting with them. That makes all of this kind of a waste. So we do want to have that sales process in place of, what am I trying to get them to do? Do I want them to call me? Do I want them to text me, email? What are we really trying to get them to do so that you can turn them into a customer? So this is a super fun slide. What do all these colors mean? This is the psychology of color. Y'all can screenshot this page or do a quick Google search on your own, but this just shows a quick reference of what these colors represent and what the psychological reaction is to these colors. And a lot of it probably makes a lot of sense. So for pink, we've got compassion, beauty, love, sensitivity. Lots of times, people that are just like, we had a client, she pulled high pink. She was very sweet. She wanted to handhold her clients. She wanted to be best friends with her client for a long time, even after they were done working together. That's a good representation of her and the experience you're going to get when you work with her. We've also got orange, energizing, desire, warmth, cheerful. I think of Tigger, who was Winnie the Pooh. He was orange because he's just so energized. So when we use these colors, and I mean, even think of like Orange Theory. And it's all about exercise and being energized and things like that. So there's definitely strategy behind it. So don't ignore this part when you're building your brand and when you're doing design and things like that. We have had clients who they might pull really high in one particular color. If they tell me my clients pick me because they trust me, I provide excellence. I have extremely high integrity. This is why people pick me. And the majority of what you're talking about is around those values. We're going to say, hey, you pulled really high in blue. We highly recommend that you incorporate blue in your brand somewhere. So it could be a pale blue, it could be a midnight blue. There's lots of different complementary palettes and ways to bring it to life depending on your taste and things like that. But we would always say, hey, don't negate this part, don't skip it, even if you don't love the color blue. Because we did have one client, the pink, the one who was pink. She was like, "Oh, I don't want pink in my brand." And she ended up, it came out in her photography. She had a lot of whites and neutrals and golds. It was really beautiful. And she had a pale pink blazer on in her photography that was used on her website. And it just brought out that pink in a very subtle way. And so there's many ways to make these colors come together in a dynamic way. Here's just a few other examples. We want to have these color palettes, the font pairings, and then these at the bottom are textures. So if everything on your website and business cards and all of that was just these colors and fonts, it would probably fall flat. So we want to pull in photography and textures to use in your branding just to give it a really elevated look. So it's your turn. I'm going to leave this up for just a second. You guys can do this on your own time, but these are some questions that you guys can be asking yourselves to really just start that process of building your brand from the inside out. An agency is not going to be able to just create a brand for you. Your brand is so much of what's in your heart and what you care about and how you want to serve and impact the community through your business. So, really think through these values that best describe you, best describe your organization. Ask yourself why your clients are choosing you. What's your superpower? Write down the names of your past clients, the ones that you loved working with. And I would also challenge you guys, send a text to 3 people that you've worked with in the past. If you are a brand new business, it could be a past boss, it could be a coworker or a colleague. Ask them, like, what do you think of when you think of me? Or what do you think of when you think of my business? Like, what is your impression? How do you perceive it from the outside looking in? And really pay attention to what they say, because that's how a lot of other people are going to be viewing you as well. And asking them what qualities mean the most to them when they picked you. Because that's messaging that we can use on social media and emails and really make sure that we're hitting that target audience in a way that's going to resonate with them. So we want to think through that client avatar of how old were they? Where did they live? Did they have kids? Were they single? Were they married? Were they in Gainesville, Georgia? Were they in Atlanta? Were they in Cumming? Really get into the mind of your ideal client so that you're going to know when they come along, you're like, oh, those are my people. And it's going to just make the sales process go so much faster and more seamless. And you're going to enjoy the work that you're doing because you're working with really ideal people who need exactly what you're really good at giving. So y'all hang on to this slide. Y'all can work on this on your own time, fill it out, and then you can even do some exercises on your own to pull the colors, see what these values pull for you, and it will just give you an idea as you start building out that brand. So we're about to wrap up here. If y'all have questions, again, put them in the Q&A. I see that we have a couple questions. We'll answer those in just a second. If you would like a sneak peek of a brand board and to receive text messages from us, go ahead and click this or scan this QR code. There's another one on the next slide. I'll leave it here for just a minute. All right, let's see. Okay, now for the fun part. So, we are going to do a drawing for a complimentary service with Edge. We're going to give away a free brand board, which is an example that you just saw, or a $150 value towards a service. So, if you're like, oh, I already have my brand and you need a flyer, you need a banner, you need a website or something different, you can use this 150 towards a different value. Andrew, will you do us the honors of pulling a name? You do have to be present to win.
Yes. Very high stress job. I can do this. All right. All right. The winner is the grand prize. Jessica Pilgrim.
Jessica Pilgrim. Awesome. I know you guys can't really talk if you're an attendee. You guys can't really participate in this conversation, but Jessica, I will get with you and get this to you. Um, Thank you, Andrew. And you guys, I am also going to send out a follow-up email to everybody with Andrew's contact information, all of my contact information. If you guys have questions or want to revisit this presentation, it's going to stay available to you guys for 7 days. And yeah, if there's any way that Edge can be a resource to you, if we can come alongside of you and helping you develop your brand from the ground up, or if you're like, hey, I'm past that, I'm at this other stage of business, can you just do a consultation with me? We'd love to hear where you're at and how we can be a resource for you in the next phase of building your brand. So this is my cell. Feel free to text me, shoot me an email, and y'all can scan this QR code as well to stay in touch with us. Okay, Q&A time. I've got my marketing manager here next to me. She's like, it's Q&A time. Can you see the questions? Yeah. She's going to read the questions to us and we'll answer them.
The first one is, what if we don't feel like we have competition?
What if we feel like we don't have competition? Do I need to? Okay. What if we feel like we don't have competition or if we cannot find any? This is always an interesting one. I feel like most people have competition of some kind, even if it's like not an apples to apples business that's just like yours. So I would ask more questions about what industry and what exactly you do so we can identify if this is truly that cutting edge that no one has done it yet. That's one thing. Otherwise, there probably is some version of competition that you can look at and just see how they're doing or what they're up to. But I mean, if you feel like you don't have any competition, then that's great. I think we're just going to have to lean really heavily on your target audience and asking them what they need, what's their pain point, and how you're able to serve them, if that makes sense. I wish I could hear you guys right now, but when is the right time to rebrand or freshen my brand? So, there's no time like the present. If you feel like you need a rebrand, I would not delay rebranding. Again, it kind of depends on your business. If you're in the middle of a launch or where you're at in the business specifically, happy to answer that question more offline and get a little bit more detail. But the short answer is now. And then what issue with branding do you see most often with your clients? Common mistakes. So great example. I was with a client, actually a prospect yesterday. We had a meeting and this business has been around for over 50 years. They are a national company and they have a lot of brand recognition. So they've done a lot right. They've grown a lot. But whenever we were talking about their pain points, a lot of the issues were, like I feel like there's no continuity between the internal team members. And then externally, we're having to play a game of telephone to make sure that people have all the right information. There's just too many people to get the clear message out. And I asked her, Have you guys ever invested in an organizational message map? Something that you can really clarify for each division what you like, what the goals and purposes are of each division. She's like, no, we've never done that. And I'm like, well, that would just streamline so much and make a lot of this communication a lot easier. So it's the messaging part that people skip and they just don't know how to articulate what they do. People are pretty good at paying for colors and branding and visual identity, and lots of times the website. It's the content on the page, it's the conversations that are had that are just not connecting with the audience. So and when you're a small business, you can have a conversation and you can sell your prospect through that one-on-one meeting when you're having coffee or whatever. But as your business grows, you may not be able to have a sit down meeting with every single person that is interested in your service. And so you do need some clear messaging on the website, and with your team members who are speaking on your behalf so that they can get the information they need a little bit faster and save everybody some time. So, hope that answers everybody's questions. I will stop the screen share here in just a second. And thank you guys for joining. We appreciate y'all. All right.